Hey everybody, it's your girl Nefarious, and today we're going to do a sew along called the Macey. The Macey is a very unique bag. It's kind of a three-dimensional bag, very reminiscent of a box that might contain something chocolate that jumps out of a window on a train in a movie. But it's a very fun and unique bag. This is the Macey. It's got like a fun three-dimensional print like I talked about. So we do some darts. We just do darts on the front panel and only the front panel, which is what makes it a fun and unique bag. The Macey measures about 9 inches tall, 9.5 inches wide, and about 4 inches in diameter. On this specific one, I did do D-rings on the side, but this could be a really fun little backpack if you decided to put the D-rings in the back and just turn it into a little backpack. Totally up to you. It's your bag and be fun. Have fun with it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on making our own Macey. Alright, general tools that I am going to be using include my awl, some double-sided tape. I've got multiple sizes here. I've got 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2 inch. I've got marking tools. I've got various ones. I've got a pair of snips. I've got an X-Acto knife. I've got a turning tool. I've got my lighter, just in case. A ruler. This is from Mormino. I've got my rivet guide. Got my hole punch. And I've got my clips, just in case. I kind of was like, I'm missing something here. These are my general tools that I'll be using throughout my video. So for the Macey, what are we going to need? Well, the first thing we want to make sure we have is obviously our D-ring connectors, and you're going to want to have 2 1-inch D-rings. So make sure you have those and ready to rock and roll. You're going to want to make sure you have your zipper tape and a number 5 zipper pull, or a zipper pull that coordinates to the zipper tape that you are going to use. Now, how long do you want to cut that? You want your zipper tape to coordinate with the length of your zipper gussets, and you're going to have an external zipper gusset panel and a matching zipper gusset. And just a general reminder, use your external zipper use your external pieces as template guides, because sometimes the waterproof canvas can shrink a little bit during the washing process. So make sure you're using this as a template when you go to cut the lining pieces out. So you have 2 external pieces and 2 matching lining pieces. And as you can see, I cut my zipper tape just a bit long, so that will definitely be getting trimmed. You're going to want to find the centers on both the exterior and the interior pieces, and find the center on your zipper tape. You're also going to have a back main piece with a matching lining. When I go to cut my lining out, what I do is I actually flip this over so that they line up nice and neat, and then I trace this out. This way that the pieces will line up accordingly. Now what you can do is, once you do this, you will, once you get the lining and the exterior cut out, you can just go ahead and clip this together. You're going to have a front main piece and a lining piece. When you go to cut the main lining, you want to go ahead and do the same thing. Flip the front exterior over to trace to cut the lining out so that they line up really nicely. What else you're going to see is on the corners here, you will see these diamonds. We are going to cut those diamonds out, but not at this moment. So set that to the side. And then you're going to have a bottom gusset and a bottom gusset lining. So starting with our D-rings, I went ahead and found our centers. You're going to want to grab some half inch, 1/4 inch, just some double-sided tape to help hold it in place. This is entirely up to you what you use. I mean, you don't even have to use double-sided tape. I just prefer double-sided tape. You're just going to, fold your edges over to that center line. And then you will repeat for the second piece. I do like to go ahead and use just a few clips just to help hold it in place. And I'm going to set those to the side. If you haven't already, I've got my back exterior and my back lining wrong sides together. Go ahead and clip those together. All of your edges lined up nice and neat because you are just going to baste these together. Grab your zipper exterior and your zipper gusset zipper lining. And what we're going to do is I'm going to apply some double-sided tape just to one side. Obviously, if there was artwork, you're going to want to pay attention to which side that artwork is on, and make sure you're matching that up appropriately. And what you will do is you will grab your zipper tape, make sure you have marked or cut a notch for your center. And if you do cut it, I highly recommend that you give it a boop with the lighter to singe that so it doesn't start fraying and coming undone later in the bag's life. I'm going to take my zipper gusset exterior and I'm going to put it face down on the right side of these zipper teeth. And I'm just going to line up those centers, and then the edges, I'm just going to line up the edges all the way across, giving that a quick press. Then I will do the same thing with, the zipper gusset lining. I'm going to put that face down on the wrong side of the zipper teeth. And do the same thing, just matching up the edge here. And giving that a press. Set that to the side. For the front panel, now, it is highly recommended that you use some form of stiff stabilizer. And what you see is I don't have any cut out right now. And the reason why is because I haven't cut out the darts. So what I like to do when I'm making a Macey is I like to go ahead and cut my darts out. Just like so. And then once my darts are cut out, then I will trace this onto, say, some Decaville Heavy or some Decaville Light. And then I will apply it. So once I do that, I will shrink that. I will trace this with the darts on the Decaville Heavy or the Decaville Light. And then I will actually shrink that about 3/4 of an inch so it's not in my seam allowance. And I also want to keep it out of my darts. And then I will apply it to the exterior piece. You want to give this a little bit of stiffness to help with it popping up. So that's how I like to do it. If you want to have it a little softer, you don't have to apply any stabilizer. But if you want that really nice pop up and you want it to be nice and firm, it's highly recommended that you use some form of heavy stabilizer. I'm going to go ahead and cut all my darts out here. Once you have all of your darts cut out, you're going to grab some clips, and what you're doing is you're going to line up your edges and you're just going to clip those together all the way around. You're going to repeat for every single dart. Might take one clip, might take 2 clips. And you're wanting to fold them right sides together. And you're going to repeat that for the lining and the exterior. What we're going to do is we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to start on the flat side. We're going to sew at 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to go to the point. So it's going to be a nice triangle, and we are going to repeat that for all 5 points on the exterior and all 5 points on the interior. So let's recap what we are taking to the sewing machine. You have your points, folded darts on your exterior and your interior. So you have those. You have your 2 D-rings, which we are going to stitch at 1/4 of an inch on both sides. You have your zipper gusset. We are going to stitch this down at 1/4 of an inch, and then we are going to fold this, line up the edges, and top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And then we have our back lining, which we are going to baste together at 1/8 of an inch. So let's go to the machine and get this started. I'm starting with the back lining. I'm just basting this together at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to set this to the side. I've got my zipper gusset. I'm going to sew this down at 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to fold the waterproof lining out. I'm going to fold the exterior out. I'm going to match up my sides. Now you can absolutely clip and hold this together, like so. We're going to top stitch all the way down, go across, and then base stitch this together. So let's go ahead and do that. You will then repeat for the opposing zipper gusset exterior and the lining. Your D-rings, you are going to top stitch these at 1/4 of an inch. I do like to back stitch at the beginning and the end of these. I'm going to set these to the side. And just like I told you at the table, I'm going to start on a flat side, giving it 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to go towards the point. Where's a pen? Okay, a marker will work. So what that looks like is that I'm going to start at 1/4 of an inch and then sew inwards. Imagine that's a straight line, so that it looks like this. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to help pop the exterior out. So we're going to do that for all 5 points on the exterior and all 5 points on the interior. You want to back stitch at the beginning and the end, and you're going to keep doing that all the way around. Be the top of the bag. Go ahead and line up your bottom here and find the center of your bottom while it's easy. All right, set the exterior to the side and do the same exact thing for the lining. Now, once I do that, I'm going to pop my lining out just like this. And then I'm going to butterfly my exterior seams like so. It might be easier to use it so that you can do this part. You're going to just want to make sure that your tops are lined up. And then you're going to want to line up your landmarks. So for me, that's each of these points. That's this bottom snip that we made. I ran myself out of clips. So I'm going to give each of these a good, it's going to be snug, but that's what we want. And then you're going to line up your edges and give those a clip because we're going to baste these together now. So from here, I'm going to baste all the way around, securing that. Give that a snip and set that to the side. Let's go back to the table. So we're back at the table. I've got my zipper gusset. You want to go ahead and add your zipper pull. You're absolutely welcome to add 2 zipper pulls if you want. I'm just using 1 in this situation. You're going to grab your D-ring connectors and you are going to thread your D-rings together. Thread your D-rings together. You're going to thread your D-ring onto your D-ring connector. And what I like to do is I'm going to line the D-ring up with the zipper and I'm going to clip to hold in place, just like so. And then repeat for the other side. And then I'm going to baste those on at the sewing machine. Now I do like to line mine up at the zipper, at the end of the zipper gusset, but you are welcome to overhang. Sometimes I do like to overhang up to a 1/4 inch, even a 1/2 inch sometimes. But on this one, I do kind of like to try to keep it on that zipper gusset lining. From here, what I want to do is I want to grab my bottom gusset, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my external pieces together, just like so. Exterior to exterior, and I'm going to clip together. And repeat for the other side. And then do the lining. So right sides together. And then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew this at a 1/4 inch all the way around. Or I'm sorry, not all the way around, just across. Back stitching really well at the beginning and the end. I'm going to turn my gusset right side out, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us a good pull. And the reason I want to do that is I want to get that seam to lay flat. And to do that, after I do that, I'm going to clip all the way around so that I can base stitch the lining and the exterior together. And then I'm going to top stitch across that seam. But giving it a good pull helps make sure, one, that lining and the exterior are lined up. There's no sag anywhere. And 2, it starts training those seams to lay flat like they're supposed to. I'm going to flip this right back inside out, just like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the middle here. It doesn't really matter where. And I'm going to start basting. And then I'm going to pivot 90 degrees so that I can top stitch across this folded seam. Pivot again another 90 degrees. And then I'm going to baste down this side. And then I'm going to repeat to where I go to that seam. I'm going to pivot 90 degrees, top stitch, pivot again, and then once that's done, I'm going to flip it right back out just like it was. Then I'm going to take these seams and I'm going to match them up. Just like so, both sides. Now what you should find is that your centers on your zipper gusset should be perfect, and they are. And then I'm going to go to the bottom. Go ahead and find that center there. And then we can grab our exterior front and back panel. If you haven't already, go ahead and find the center on the back panel. So you've got your top is going to be your center point, your bottom's got your center point. Same for your front. Now if you wanted to, you could go ahead and trim your wings, which is what I'm going to do. Now that you have these corners all topped, it should be about the same size as your back panel if you were to squish it. So they're about the same size. That's what we want. From here on, it's going to be like putting a regular bag together. This is a bound bag. I like to do the front first, just because I feel like it's just a smidge trickier. So I'm going to flip my zipper gusset inside out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my centers up, and then I'm going to clip all the way around. I may need to trim the gusset a little bit just to make sure it fits, but that's what I'm going to do to make this work. It's probably going to be easier to do this side at a time. And you'll see you've got corners on the two bottoms. These should line up pretty close to the seams right here on the gusset, both sides, and then those would probably be really good landmarks. So your tip of the pentagon is at the center of your zipper gusset. The side seams are the two sides, and then these will give you two sharp corners. So now you can base these together at 1/8 of an inch. Just going to give everything a little bit of a trim. Once you get that done, you're going to attach your bias tape. After you get it all bound up, you're going to attach this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You are going to backstitch at the beginning and the end. Then you're going to repeat the exact same process for the other side. Now, when you are trying to clip up the back panel lining, you may find that it is a smidge bigger, and you may run into issues in the bottom two corners. Now, this is what I do so that it works, is that you do have a little bit of overhang in these two corners, but what I do is I take those corners that we made, those real nice sharp corners, and I pinch it all the way down to the bottom, and then I clip on either side so that when I am top stitching around, I will have this overhang, but I'll be able to snip that off on both sides. And this should be a pretty even amount on both sides, and it'll be a nice round, just like here, it'll be a nice round corner, and I'll be able to make sure they're the same on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and start basting this together. And now we're ready to bind it. Now that I've got it bound, I'm going to go around. I'm going to stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I'm going to give it a quick check, make sure it all looks nice, clean up my threads, maybe boop it with a lighter. And because this is vinyl and waterproof canvas, I will heat it up with a blow dryer just so I can turn it out and it won't be so hard to turn out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You want to make sure that you give us a nice pop out so that you get that 3D effect. That's why we sewed our darts. Clean up any loose threads you have. Boop it with a lighter if necessary. And this is the Macey. I want to thank you all for sewing along today with me as we made Macey. She is a very unique bag. Again, she is got this 3-dimensional front. We did go over the little bit of an extra here on the back. If you run into that, having a little bit of extra, even after you snipping into the gusset, it's fine. Just go ahead and, trim those corners. You're going to bind it anyway. But she does come in at 9.5 inches wide, 9 inches tall, and 4 inches in diameter. So she has got lots of room. She is really customizable. We don't include a pocket on this, but there's plenty of room for pockets on the inside. It's going to fit quite a lot. So I can't wait to see all of your Macy's out in the wild. In fact, when you're making your Macy's, make sure you're tagging K&A Custom Fabrics and, of course, your girl Nefarious Magic Cat. So for now, ta-ta, and I'll see you around.